You want to make $10,000 a month fast? Forget side hustles, cryptocurrency, all of that noise. Learn how to sell. It's timeless, real, and it's a skill anyone can learn. When I was 18 years old, I was flat broke. By the time I was 19 years old, I'd been working in sales for several months, and I was consistently earning 10 to 20K a month. In this video, I'll show you exactly how to replicate what I did. So I should probably say, why sales and how did I get into it? Well, if I go back to when I was 17 years old, I was a bagger at a grocery store. And I knew when I was about to turn 18, my whole world would open up to me. And I had no clue what I wanted to do. And I was completely disengaged with school and wasn't paying attention. But something for some reason led me to make a Google search. And I looked up what was the most common first job that all billionaires had. And it was sales. So obviously being a kid, I didn't do any due diligence. I just jumped headfirst into it. So once I turned 18, I started canvassing my resume out to local companies, and I ultimately got hired at a furniture store. Then the rest is history. And the reality is, when you really think about it, it makes sense that all billionaires started with sales. Sales is the most important function of any business. And that's why it's the most compensated function of any business. Sales is the highest paid profession by far. Salespeople make more than doctors. They make more than lawyers. It's just sales. And the beautiful thing too, on top of it, there's no barrier to entry. You don't need a degree to sell. You don't need any certification. You don't need any particular type of training or anything. If you could talk, if you could communicate, if you can convey an idea, a belief, a feeling, if you could talk to a prospect and ultimately get them to buy, you will make a very healthy living. When you really dig into it, if you are in a position where you're earning a salary or you're getting paid an hourly wage, your capability of earning is completely tied and pegged to the amount of hours that you're able to put into a job, right? It doesn't matter if you make 20 bucks an hour or 50 bucks an hour. You can only work 40 hours a week or 50 hours a week or 60 hours a week. There's some limit to how many hours you're actually able to put into your work. It does not matter how productive you are. It does not matter how good you are at your job. There's always going to be a limit to how much you're able to earn based on how many hours that you have to put in. And on top of that, you have to trade in time for money, right? So it's always a trade-off. But with sales, you're paid based on merit. You're paid based on performance. You're paid based on value. And I could infinitely get more value. And one of the beautiful things is you could become more valuable as a person. If you learn how to sell more, if you learn how to get more customers, if you learn how to generate more revenue, you'll be paid more. It's completely tied to performance. And so if you know that you have a hard work ethic and you know how to work hard and put in effort and put in time and learn how to develop the skills necessary, your income will skyrocket. When I got that first job at 18 years old, I started making $70,000 a year when I was still in high school. Then the year after, I started selling appliances. I made $100,000 and then $250,000. It scaled geometrically, because also the beautiful thing about sales is that skill that you develop, it's cumulative. It compounds. It stacks on top of each other. Every year you get better, you get better, you get better. You learn how to sell more. And so again, if at the end of the day, if you're paid based on merit, you could control your income. And one of the things I just want to say, general disclaimer, when I was about to quit my job at the grocery store, I had several of my employees try to warn me and say not to get into sales. Oh, it's just a bunch of sharks working there. Oh, it's tough. Or, oh, here at the grocery store, there's job security, which, that alone makes me want to blow my brains out. But the reality is the true job security comes in a position where if you could sell, you will always have a place in a business. Doesn't matter if a business is in a recession or it's growing or whatever that may be, businesses need to generate revenue. That is the most essential function of any organization. Doesn't matter if it's a nonprofit, doesn't matter if it's a for-profit business, doesn't matter if it's $1 billion company or $1 million company, you have to sell. And the people who know how to generate revenue will always find a position in an organization. They will always have a job, and they will always command a high wage. Now, I want to dig into a little bit specifically about how to pick the right sales job, because there's a ton of sales jobs. If you just go on Google and you look up sales jobs near me, you'll have a list longer than you know what to do with. But filtering those opportunities for the right ones are important. So one of the first things I realized when I got into sales is, well, I want to make a lot of money. So I just kind of naturally assumed that, well, something that's big ticket probably means big commission. And for some reason at the time, I had some mental limitation in my mind where I thought I couldn't sell real estate at 18. I wasn't a big car person, so I wanted to stay away from cars. And so I just kind of thought furniture. And I guess it worked for me at the time. But the reality is, if you're going to be selling pencils, or clothes or something, that's very small ticket items. You're not going to really, unless you do an unbelievable amount of volume, you're not going to make a lot of money. So you want to think big ticket items. You want to think insurance premiums. You want to think perhaps cars or furniture or houses, anything that is a large ticket item would give you the opportunity to obviously earn a much larger commission. But on top of that, I think something that's arguably even more important is to sell something that's a necessity. You want to sell something that's a need to have, not a want to have. Selling furniture was by far the most difficult sales job I've ever had, because the reality is that people don't need a new couch. People could reuse their old couch. It's very discretionary. It's all subject to taste. Oh, I don't like this color. I don't like this fabric, or I don't like this style. You don't need a new couch. But when I sold appliances, and I have a customer that walked in, my fridge just died. I have a family of 5. I need a new fridge. I had never not closed a sale. So just to give you an idea, when I sold furniture, I only sold about 20 to 25% of my customers, and I walked 75 to 80% of my business. It was completely different when I sold appliances. I sold 75 to 80% of my customers and only walked about 20%. And those 20% were people that would walk in, oh, I'm building a house and it's not going to be ready for 6 months, so I'm just kind of scouting around for what I want. So the reality is, if there's a need, you're going to sell it. So for example, common industries, HVAC. If you're in Arizona in the middle of summer and your air conditioning breaks, you have to replace it. Funeral services. Everybody dies. You need a funeral or you need a cremation service. People make a lot of money in funeral services. Real estate. People need a house. Insurance. You need insurance. Mortgages. There's all types of industries that are not necessarily discretionary, but more necessity products. And if you're able to take something that's a necessity and a high ticket item and a situation where you can have somewhat decent volume, you're going to make a lot of money. There is no reason you should not be able to pull in $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 a year at an average sales company. That is not an unreasonable expectation. Now, the cream of the crop is if you have something that's a big ticket item, that's a necessity, and that's a situation where you can have repeat business. So I'm going to harp back to appliances because, again, this is what I have experience with. When I sold somebody a couch, I took them out of the market for 10 years. They were gone. I never saw that customer again. But there was a lot of customers that I had when I sold appliances that were home builders or contractors or remodelers or real estate investors. And if I built a relationship with that customer and they flipped the house and they bought the appliances from me, when they went to flip another house, they came back to me. Home builders, they're building 10 houses. I need 10 sets of appliances. I was able to really cultivate a situation where I was able to sell the same customers constantly. So when I sold furniture, I think I did about $850,000 in revenue in my first year. When I went over to appliances, I more than tripled my business. I did $3 million because I had so many customers that kept coming back and coming back and coming back because I gave incredible service, I gave great pricing, and ultimately it was a necessity. People need appliances, especially home builders. They can't close on a house unless they have appliances in there. You can't live in a house without appliances. So again, it's an amazing industry. I happen to own a plumbing company, and if all goes well, I should be buying an air conditioning company here pretty soon. That's a need to have business. People need plumbing. If their water heater breaks, they have to buy a new one. They have no choice. People's air conditioner breaks. They have to fix it. They have no choice. So again, I've been in the game for long enough to realize I'm going to put myself in a situation where I have a tailwind, not a headwind. And so if you could find something that's a necessity, high ticket, and you have a situation that have a lot of repeat business, you'll make so much money, you have no idea what to do. Now, there's one last point I want to make, and I've been telling people this forever. Your first sales job is for training. Your second sales job is for making money. The reality is if you don't know how to sell, if you're not confident, if you've never done it before, you're probably not going to have the skill set to be able to land yourself in an A1 organization. So just get yourself somewhere. Again, I started in furniture. I made most of my money selling appliances. I've seen people that start in debt settlement and they end up making more money selling trees. I had a guy that worked at a plant nursery and made a ton of money doing that. So you just want to get yourself somewhere. You want to start. You want to get your nerves out because, again, you have self-limiting beliefs. Oh, I can't sell. I've never talked to people. I don't know what I'm doing. You get all that ironed out in your first sales job. And you kind of start to learn how to sell. You build your confidence. And when you start to realize, like, holy crap, I sold $50,000 this month, or I sold $100,000 this month, you start to believe it. It's like, oh, maybe I actually do know what I'm doing. And every single person that I've recommended get into sales, almost all of them initially had reservations that they didn't think they could do it. And every single one of them now, a year or two later, they would never do anything else. They wouldn't. They don't know any better. The money's so easy. Why would I do anything else? So the first sales job, again, don't put in your mind that you're going to be at this company forever. Go there to learn. Go there to cut your teeth. Learn how to sell. Learn the basics. Learn the fundamentals. Learn how to set appointments. Learn how to cold call. Learn how to follow up with people. Learn how to just craft your pitch. Read How to Win Friends and Influence People. Go watch some Grant Cardone videos or Jordan Belfort videos. Just learn the basics. Learn Sales 101. But once you're in a position where, okay, yeah, I kind of know what I'm doing. I have confidence built. Now I'm going to go search for that long-term company. And that's what I really recommend, because there's a lot of companies where there is kind of this artificial ceiling to how much money you can make. There are a lot of companies where you really probably can't make more than 100K a year. But then there are opportunities where, when I sold appliances, I had a coworker that was making over $800,000 a year because he sold $15 million worth of appliances to every home builder you could possibly imagine. So there are tons of situations where you have basically an unlimited ceiling. So again, first sales job is for training. The second one is for making money. I also want to mention, this video is almost entirely focused on just the money-making part of the benefits of sales. I would argue that that's not even the biggest benefit. It's the ability to communicate. It's the ability to sell yourself. What I do for a living, if you've seen any other videos on my channel, I'm in mergers and acquisitions. I'm an M&A guy. I buy and sell companies. That's what turns me on. I'm just a salesman. Nothing has changed. I've simply gone from selling products, selling furniture, televisions, mattresses, whatever that may be, to now I'm selling ideas. I'm selling concepts. I'm selling a dream. I'm selling somebody on why should they sell their business to me as opposed to the competitor. I'm selling my employees as to why the changes that we're making, it's going to be good for the long term of the business. I'm selling, it's a constant sales process the entire way. I'm selling the banks as to why they should give me money. I'm selling professionals as to why they should work with me. I cannot stress it enough. Learning how to communicate, learning how to sell will have so many benefits in your life, whether it's your dating life, your career, professional, personal. Learning how to communicate, learning how to sell, infinitely would be the best thing you could ever do. I was broke, lost, and aimless, and learning how to sell taught me how to make money, how to communicate, and ultimately how to build my life to where I'm at now. And if you're serious about making money, if you're serious about learning all this stuff, please, click here to watch more. I'm constantly making videos about sales, business, whatever that may be. If anybody has any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. I am accessible. Thank you.